what I want to discuss today here at KPCALP in Petaluma is how can we find our joy in life? How can we find that joy that will lead to us feeling more positive and grateful and anticipating good things in our lives? If we've gotten to a place where there's been so many challenges that we feel discouraged, like how do we stay on that positive path for ourselves? Because that positive path is going to involve, like the way you get on the positive path and draw it to you is we do have to keep anticipating this positivity. We have to keep finding a way to keep our morale up. And so I think this is an interesting thing, is sometimes we feel like we've lost our morale. Feel like we've lost our joy. So I want to give you some techniques of how to reinstate those good feelings. Or if you just feel like, wow, I never had the good feelings, that's okay. There is a way to redirect yourself and find a different path. So that's what I want to talk about today. And again, if your life felt like it just didn't have quite enough sunshine and happiness, find support. Always, support is huge. And it doesn't mean you have to do it forever, but sometimes we just really need to find a coach. Sometimes we need to find a therapist. Sometimes we need to find a group. And there's so many different types of groups that you can check out. It could be something that's more like a hobby group, and that's going to give you a lot of support. Maybe there's a group of people that like to go hiking, and maybe there's finding a particular hobby, but something that's going to get you around people that are wanting to enjoy the moment in a good way, in a really healthy way. So reaching towards that, I think, is really important. Identifying something you like. Getting in nature always helps. So when we are not feeling well and we don't know how to create that wellness in our lives, getting in nature is always going to help you. Going for a walk. So even if you started with just taking regular walks, maybe a little hiking, but regularly getting yourself out into nature is going to always really expose you to the fresh air. It's going to expose you to the good feeling, that the ions that are just out in nature that help regulate us. Going to the beach is huge. Going to the beach, it has negative ions, and you can feel it. When you go to the beach, you feel relaxed and kind of sleepy and good, kind of happy. So going to the beach can be really helpful, and just go walk on the beach. If you don't live near the beach, just sitting outside, sit down against a tree and just breathe and take some breaths. So we will do some guided meditation stuff today, so I can show you how you can work on that. But first I'm going to give you some mental ways of working towards this. So when we feel like we've lost our joy, let's pretend, let's go from worst case scenario, which is there's been almost no joy. And I'm just being realistic. I feel that life has, I've worked with so many people, working in mental health, working with chronic pain, and working with how people can heal their bodies, find, healings for their emotional experience and everything. And sometimes there just hasn't been enough things that you could reach towards that will make you remember a good feeling. Maybe there just wasn't enough good feeling. So for those instances, we're going to start there. I'd recommend really looking at your support structure. So looking at considering some therapy, and sometimes we can't afford therapy. Sometimes that's the situation. So then looking at a group. And if that feels even like too much, go on YouTube and start Googling support for what you're struggling with. Okay? So sometimes you can Google an inspiring talk to heal depression. Something like that, where you are starting to Google. Sometimes we just need to have some mirthfulness, some laughter to redirect, kind of break the cycle. Because the thing is, we can get really stuck in ruts, and then it's like, how do I get out of that rut, right? So whenever I felt too heavy, I would do things that I found really humorous. I would listen to comedians. I would find a comedian I liked, and I would drive and I would listen to this comedian just to kind of reset myself. So laughter is very, very, very helpful. So you could look at, okay, what's going to make me laugh? So if you like to read, get a funny book. Get someone that really just tickles you. And start there, and then start researching and just scroll for, funny videos, funny uplifting videos, and just start listening to things that gives you a little bit of inspiration, that changes the mindset, changes the focus. So maybe you just watch really positive things. If you really like animals, you can watch funny animal videos. You can watch videos around kindness. You can watch videos around inspiration, and make that your focus. And stay away from things that maybe are a little too wearing on your mind, on the level of stress. Okay? So sometimes we have to not pay attention to the news for a while, and just do what we can to take care of us, where we are the focus, and let the other things go. We can always attend to those things again later, but bringing that focus towards your own well-being. So finding your support structure, listening to only things that make you feel more positive, make you feel like you have some hope, and letting the other things go for a while. It's okay to be selfish and take care of yourself. It's not selfish. It's really about understanding how to focus on just your own well-being, because if our well-being is so eroded, we do not have that energy to help those other situations we would like to be able to lend some support to, right? So looking at your support structure and keeping everything very positive in your life as much as possible. Make sure you're doing things that make you laugh, getting in nature, going for walks. The exercise is huge. So even if it's just 20 minutes of exercise, you can look up someone on YouTube. You can just do that walk. If you like to lift weights, you can lift a little weights at home. But doing things like that are going to help pull you out of a rut and redirect you. Okay, so once you do that, you can kind of start writing a little bit. And I always have everyone write, because it's the kinesiology of your body when you're working your muscles, and it's the connection of doing. Your mind needs a physical act sometimes to channel those thoughts all the way through your experience. So it starts in your mind, and then by writing, it gives your mind somewhere to go with those thoughts. Because when we hold on to all these thoughts, it's almost like we get congested in our mind, right? It gets too plugged up with all the thinking. So I'm giving yourself a way to release the buildup in the mind, and then we'll do some breathing and guided meditation as well. But I'm going to give you many techniques for moving that through. So when you start writing, and so for someone that didn't have a lot of joy, they're going to reach for support. They're going to reach for, some sort of therapist or a group. If you're spiritual, maybe there's a spiritual group that really resonates with you, and that can be free, right? So sometimes looking at the amount of resources you have and making that work for you. So thinking, okay, how can I work with worst case scenario of there's not a lot of funds for it. So when there's not a lot of funds, nature is free. Support groups can be free. Being able to look for the humor in life is free. So finding whatever you can to create something that's going to be lifting your mood, and keep working towards that mood that is in the direction you want to go. Okay? So then going to the next step up, someone that's had joy in their life and they have misplaced and it has been buried underneath the stress or certain life events. So then if they're journaling and they're writing about joy that they have had in their life. So writing about that joy and writing about it very deliberately, remembering how it felt in their body, remembering how they thought at that point in time. Were they anticipating good things? Were they able to connect with more positivity in their life? What were they doing that helped create that positivity? And just being able to reminisce can be helpful. Sometimes if you're a parent, maybe there was a time in your life where it was easy with the kid, because I think often with parenting there's ups and downs. I'm a parent. I love my kid. I adore my kid, and they're doing amazing. They're 20 years old now. But, there was times that were tricky, but there was times that were incredibly funny. And there were times that I'm so grateful and appreciate so much. And you can reach towards those moments. Maybe there was a time within your family connection that was really good. Maybe it was that trip you took with your best friend. Find those moments and just let yourself be tickled by it. Let yourself find some good feelings in your heart. And then write about it. Okay? Now, let's say after you write about it and you're able to remember some feelings within your body, paying attention to the feelings in your body. And then after that, brainstorming on how can I get more in touch with those good feelings, that joy, that humor, that laughter, that feeling of excitement for more good things in your life. So when you look at that in your journaling, look at what is in the way in your life at this point in time that is maybe creating a barrier to having more of those feelings in your life. So again, my name is Michelle Love. You're listening to Dynamic Change on KPCALP in Petaluma, a free-range radio and TV station. And I am talking about finding your joy and how to create that joy when you feel like life has lost those feelings of joy and you feel like you might have fallen into a rut. So I'm talking about already journaling about some good times in your life and looking at your support structure in your life. How can you create more support, whether it's with a therapist, a support group, a spiritual group, and also how much are you getting into nature, okay? So now we've already done the journaling, articulating some joyful times in our lives, some good feelings in our lives. And now we're going to look at what's getting in the way of that. So on this list, sometimes we need to really look at our quality of our relationships. And if there is something that is really stressful or toxic, maybe we need to find a kind way of letting that go rather than trying to hold on to something that is just bringing us down. So the way we can look at that is, if sometimes they're easy relationships that we can let go. Maybe it's someone that, it's a work situation that we have a way to navigate it differently and pull ourselves apart and disengage to some extent. Sometimes we need to find our voice and say, I need this type of treatment. I need to be treated in this particular way at work. Maybe it's a friendship. You realize you're feeling really drained by a particular friendship pattern. Getting a book on codependency is really helpful. Sometimes we are just not taking care of ourselves, and we are just so entwined in these patterns with people that reading up on codependency can be really helpful. And I've done shows around codependency. You can always go to my YouTube station, Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness, and kind of scroll through the topics, some free input, and talking about boundaries, talking about feeling like you can have those boundaries for yourself without feeling guilty, without feeling like obligated to be stuck in that negative pattern with somebody. So reading up on having boundaries for yourself. I've done a lot of shows around boundaries. I've done shows around domestic violence, and so many ways you can find support for things that are in the way of your wellness. So reading up on codependency, watching some YouTube shows on codependency, and really understanding that everyone deserves to have boundaries and to reach for something more positive. And if a situation is too stressful and is wearing you down, to look at that. So looking at, okay, what are the boundaries within my friendships? What are the boundaries within, if you have a romantic relationship or a marriage, what could I shift? Because sometimes there's things that have so much good and we don't need to let it go, but we definitely need to work on the boundaries, definitely need to work on taking care of yourself, thinking of what you need in order to thrive within that particular relationship and situation. So looking at that and saying, okay, what do I need to do? So looking at your life and saying, where can I decrease stress? What things can be let go that I know stress me out? So you make a list. This is what's stressing me out. Whether it's bills. Okay, so let's say it's bills, as far as your financial situation. Look at that and say, okay, what bills can I let go of? Sometimes we have subscriptions, or sometimes we need to look at, can I set things on automatic payment so that way I'm not stressed about paying the bills? Can I perhaps pick up an extra shift once every 2 weeks so it's not going to wear me down too much, but it's going to add some additional income? Maybe there's a little side job that I will enjoy, whether you like to babysit or want to have there's a hobby you like to do and there's a way for you to earn money doing it, that you can do that just a little bit on the side. But looking at what kind of work can you do to maybe supplement your income that will be enjoyable. And sometimes we just never know what that may be, right? So really brainstorming, okay, what do I like to do? I like, because there's all kinds, if you look on Indeed, that app for jobs, if you look for work that maybe will be quite relaxing for you. I've always loved busy work, like clerical work. That was something that for me was pretty simple, right? So sometimes you can find a type of work that's maybe enjoyable for you. Maybe you can run an errand for somebody, or maybe help with yard work. There's always people that are posting, you know, elder care and declutter help, that you could do a little bit of work, just, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, that will bring you extra income, that's not really mental, that is kind of simple. So if your job is stressful and you don't want to work any extra hours, maybe, you know, get on Indeed, find a job, you know, or post, I'm looking for just a little bit of part-time work. This is what I enjoy doing. Would love to help a nice person out that needs some support. You know, make it easy and reach out into the world of what would be relaxing and easy for you to do to supplement your income. And then look at what you can let go. You know, maybe there's some overspending in some areas, and that could be trimmed down. And then you could look at how can you reshape your spending, how can you shape how your bills are paid. That automatic payment with bills, I think, can be really helpful, because sometimes the act of paying the bills and feeling like it's unmanageable, you can set it up where it pays just the minimum on something, and then when you have the extra money, pay extra. That way you're never stressed about paying the bill. You always feel that it's covered, but it's covered in a way that feels manageable because it's the minimal amount, right? Sometimes you can consolidate bills, and that can be a way to handle stress. But having that automatically done and then take care of it more later releases that stress in your body. So as you have your list of feeling in your body, okay, you've made your list of the stressful things, okay? Then we're going to talk about where you feel it in your body. So you make a list of, okay, I've thought about bills, maybe that's a stressor, and that's okay. Make it okay. It's okay to have the stress, but acknowledging that you need some support in that area, writing it down, and knowing that you can problem solve to release that stress and start feeling more happiness and more relaxation in your body is good. It's like the anxiety and the stress around it is what we need to work on and look at. So you look at that. You're like, okay, there's the bill factor. You know that exercise helps you feel better about any anxiety you feel around stress issues. I don't care what condition you have in your body. And I'm serious. It can be an extreme illness, you know, any kind of anything, even asthma. A gentle walk and just gently working on the exercise is still going to help the asthma in the end. Any kind of, you know, I've been a certified fitness trainer for over 30 years. I've taught dance. I've taught exercise to people that were really struggling. I've had my own things I've healed in my body and had to work through. I've worked with people that, you know, had all kinds of different physiques and different levels of stress and physicality, and worked with them on how can you continue to move forward when you have gotten in a rut with yourself. Any kind of exercise is going to be beneficial. Just start gentle and then work up at a comfortable pace. I think it's really easy to like beat up on yourself and be like, oh, I got too far in a rut there. There's no coming out of that. There's no going, you know, forward. It's all downhill from there. Don't think that way. It's too easy. Okay, we want to let go of that negative route that is so easy to fall into. What is more challenging is actually to find a way to continue to be positive, to continue to support your positivity. And that's why I'm doing this show today. Because I believe very strongly we can find ways to find that joy, find that happiness again, and redirect the self. And I want to support people in understanding that they can do that, because it's so helpful and so meaningful to keep finding your joy. Okay, so on your list, you're making a list of finding what you can start reshaping your life, what needs reshaping, what is stressful. Okay, so we've gone over the physical things, we've gone over monetary things, and reaching towards maybe some extra work. That will be fun. That will not be stressful. And see, just the act of being able to do something that doesn't involve stress, that helps solve your problems, right? By bringing in a little extra money, right there, the effect of the action of something that's making it ultimately feel better in doing something that is so easy for you, that is not taxing, is going to help. Because like maybe you have your career or you have a job and it's fine, it's great, you have benefits, you enjoy the work and everything else, but you're still feeling overloaded financially. Then leave the job there. The job's fine, but you need to create a little more ease in the money department. So you've shaved off some bills, you've reshaped your spending, you're budgeting a little bit different, but then maybe create a little side job, just a little one, 4 hours a week, where that brings in that extra money that's just easy, mindless, simple. Because there are jobs like that out there. There's people that need that kind of help, that have the money to pay someone to do that. And so it's not like you have to stress over a new career or anything like that. You're looking for some alleviation of stress. Okay, so then there's that. So then you look at you decided that you behave in some codependent ways. And maybe you've started some therapy and you're looking at, or if you couldn't afford the therapy, you've started to look for free information, free groups, free information on the internet. You bought a book on codependency and you're just noticing it and you're like, oh, codependency is something I should look at, right? And that's just so common. No shame in that. But it'll be helpful that when you educate yourself, it empowers you. Okay? So you get some education around that and you start reading on it and you start looking at your relationships and you're like, okay, this particular friendship really drains me. I really love this person, but I notice that it really affects the quality of my life. Like it really stresses me out. So you need some boundaries there. So you're reading up on codependency and you are realizing that you need to ease away and realize you don't have to fix other people. So codependency, some of the issues around that is you're trying to fix other people. And it's about not taking care of yourself enough. And again, I've done a lot of shows around boundaries. And maybe, I can't remember if I did one specifically on codependency, but I've done a ton of all kinds of different levels of boundary work for yourself. So the idea is to look at what do you need within that relationship. So you write down about the relationship, what is stressing you out about the relationship, and how can you honestly look at what you need and come from that place of what you need. So to create a boundary within the relationship is, okay, I tend to go along with listening to this friend when they are really in a negative state, a negative place in their mind, and they just want to bash on everything, and it's really negative. It feels almost like toxic. And when after you finish talking to them, you feel like you've been dumped on, and you're just exhausted. And you're realizing, I really don't like that pattern. Like it just always brings me down. So maybe telling that person, okay, I've realized that when you're stressed out and you call me to kind of vent, it's too much for me and that I don't have the energy for it. And that's okay. So realizing that and letting them know. So how do you disengage from a person that maybe does that? So sometimes it's hard to do in person because the dynamics of the relationship haven't had healthy boundaries before. So maybe you can tell them and say, I've decided that I need you to find another way to find support for that stress, because obviously you need to get it out. So I'm recommending maybe look for a therapist or start journaling about it. And when you have gotten over that stress, you can let me know. Maybe we can go for a walk together, but I want to just talk about positive things because I'm realizing that I need more positivity in my life. I love you. I know you're fully capable of handling that and totally powerful enough to find the support you need. And so I'm saying it because I'm taking care of myself and I love you. I know you can do it. And creating that kind of boundary and sticking to it. Okay, now what's interesting is when we start creating boundaries with people, sometimes they really pull back. They get offended. And that's okay. It's okay if they do, because you're being honest. And it will shift the dynamic in the connection. Sometimes they'll pull way back, and that's actually better for you because they're getting the message that they need to handle themselves rather than dumping on somebody. So they learn something from that, and you are taking care of yourself. That's very, very healthy. If you're in a relationship and you notice some of the dynamics within the relationship are too stressful, right? You can do the same type of work of how can you find support. Maybe you do couples therapy. Maybe you look up something on YouTube that talks about relationship support and saying, I want to do something that eases the stress for both of us in this relationship. I want to start exercising together by going on a hike at least once every week and going for a walk every day. And maybe we're just quiet and we just walk. But teasing out the boundaries of what is too much for you and honoring that. So that way you're decreasing the stress, you're finding solutions, you're asking the people that you know are having some stress that is affecting you, the dynamics of that connection, you're starting to create boundaries for yourself. You're starting to find activities if you're, it's a really meaningful relationship that you are, like it's your marriage or something like that. Start naming some things, whether you want to get some therapeutic support, whether you want to start doing a class together that sounds enjoyable, like a dance class, or art class, or a cooking class, or join a tennis league if you both like tennis, or a bowling league. Finding something that will bring some joy to the relationship and creating boundaries that you may need, where you say, sometimes I feel like you're really stressed out and you come home and take that stress out from me from your job, and just say, I want you to go work out if that feels right to you, or just find a solution. If you don't like working out, I'm going to go for a walk so you can decompress from work, and let me know how much time you need, and then we'll sit down and relax together. But taking space for yourself and saying, I don't want to feel dumped on, and I realize I haven't mentioned it before and you didn't know, I need to work on my boundaries. So maybe that's your piece, that you need to have that boundary of saying, okay, I'm not comfortable with that. I realize I have not brought this up to you before. You did not know, but I'm realizing I need to have this boundary for myself. And I'm going to take the space during that time. And when you feel like you've had some timed event, however you want, whether you want to go work out, maybe you guys have weights in the garage, or you just want to chill out and watch a little TV, or sit down and have a cup of tea, whatever it is, or have a snack. Sometimes we need to regulate our blood sugar, have some healthy snacks around, but creating these boundaries for yourself. Okay, so we've talked about creating boundaries for yourself, really looking at what is stressful in your life, writing that down, and after all of that, writing about how you feel in your body. When you look at these things, this list of things that are stressful, and you've looked at solutions, you looked at things you can let go, how you can create some boundaries. Now, I want to talk about releasing that stress in your body. So when I talk about being trauma informed, that I'm trauma informed, it means that there's a new movement of awareness of trauma and how our body holds stress. It doesn't have to be extreme trauma. It means that, and even the word trauma is sometimes too much for people, like they don't feel a connection with that and doesn't resonate with them. That's totally fine. But understanding levels of stress that we carry can be so intense and we get so numbed out to that load that we're carrying, and it sends the body into this fight or flight. There's so much stress and there's no relief from the stress that you're always operating at this zzz kind of level of stress. And what does that do to our bodies? It sucks out the joy, okay? It sucks out the joy, and that's a drag. Who wants to live a life with no joy? Okay, so, and it keeps your nervous system in fight or flight. Continuous sustained levels of stress that are too much, that the nervous system cannot fully process to where it gets to the other side, where it then regulates to a comfortable homeostasis within your system, is what all that trauma work these days that therapists are learning about, that they're educating people on more about, is about that sustained level of stress, of emotional heightened stress that dysregulates our nervous system to where we never really feel unstressed. There's this level of stress all the time, and then you can end up, after really staying in that state for a long period of time, of really losing your happiness, losing that joy. Who wants to feel that way? It's just you're living and you're like, why am I living? You want to know why you're living, because you want to be enjoying it, right? You want to have more moments of joy, more moments of satisfaction, anticipating those good things. So now what we're going to do is do some guided meditation that I'm going to take you through. You can do this with me now, of how to start focusing on releasing the things that have been getting in the way of your joy. So do this with me now. You can put your hands, in your lap. If you're laying down, you can lay down. And palms up on your thighs. And breathe at your own breath pace, not mine. I can breathe pretty deeply because over the many years, I've been working on deep breathing. So I don't want people getting lightheaded trying to do it the way I do it. So really inhale when you need to inhale, exhale when you're ready to exhale. But I'm giving you the pattern. This is called block breathing. It helps regulate your nervous system. So you're going to breathe in for a count of 7 through your nose, as close as you can get to that. Slow, even, deep breath. Hold it for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 8. And this regulates your nervous system and starts to really help with stress. Okay? So breathing in. Holding for a count of 4. And then breathe out through a straw. Again, in for 7. Hold for 4. Exhale for 8 through a straw. Again, inhale for 7. Hold for 4. Exhale 8. One more time. Inhale 7. Hold for 4. Exhale 8. Now feel in your body. Think about the first thing on your list, whatever stress that was getting in the way. I want you to think about, where do you feel it in your body? And if you could give it a texture, you can say, oh man, that feels like sludge, feels like mud, feels like a hot wound, a burning pain. It feels like heaviness. It feels like just I'm carrying this weight. Okay? Give it some texture. What does it feel like? If you could give it a color, what color would it be? How big is that thing in your body? Now give it all the definition you can. Color, sensation. Now imagine, in your mind's eye, when you breathe, now I want you to breathe in a way where you feel feisty. This is the good fight for yourself. You're going to push that gunk out of you, okay? So imagine with your breath, it's almost like getting a little mad. It's getting fierce. And sometimes you got to think of something to bring up that fierce, because we don't know how to be fierce for ourselves, right? So just think of something you feel really passionate about, that you know, whether it's someone you love and you would do anything to protect them, or it's your little furry friend, your dog, I would do anything to protect that furry friend. I would, get in front of that moving bullet. You know what I mean? Like, what do you really, really feel passion, fierceness about? Okay? So think of that. It can also be just for yourself, but I want you to feel that fierceness. Okay? So when you breathe, we're going to push with our fierceness, and just imagine pushing it out with your mind, your intention, your breath, your hands, and imagine it being pushed out so it's in front of you. So this gunk, you've given it texture, you've given it a picture, a feeling, and a size. And maybe it smells. Smells awful. You can give it a smell, whatever you want to do. I don't care. But give it as much texture as you can. And we're going to push it out with your breath, with your fierceness, with your, you can get feisty. You can feel a little angry. You're tired of feeling like there's no joy. Okay? So do this with me now. Inhale. Exhale, push it out. Inhale. Exhale, be fierce. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, be fierce. So you've pushed it outside of your body now. And now imagine, as you breathe, you're going to send fire to it. Now, I love these visualizations because you're cleansing it. This is like really transforming it. You're breaking it up. You're allowing it to shift, to change. So now with your breath, see it in front of you. Keep it in front of you. Now, any color you want, okay? It could be regular fire colors. It could be blue fire. It could be purple fire, green fire, but you're going to shift it and really change it. Melt it, disintegrate it. Let it be done. You are so done with feeling this stress getting in the way of your joy. You need to just really be done, okay? So, breathing in, do this with me now. Send it fire. Again. Burn it up. One more time. And burn it up. And sometimes you need to keep working on it. Maybe you need to keep working on this type of guided meditation. You could listen to it over and over and over. This part of my show on the YouTube station, look it up. Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness on YouTube. Listen to it over and over and over. Okay, so you've burned it up. Hopefully it disintegrated. If it didn't, keep working at it. Sometimes people like to work with other elements. Imagine this gush of water comes down and just washes it away, and it goes into the ocean, goes into the earth, and it starts to shift and transform and grow into something beautiful. A beautiful tree, a beautiful plant, a beautiful rose bush. You can imagine burying it, stomping on the ground. You're done. You need to really be sick of the pattern to be done, to let it go. Sometimes we have to get to this place of, I am so tired of this. I am just going to let it go. No matter what it takes, it's going to be done. Okay? So then you see it transforming. Now to bring that joy to you, because this whole show of dynamic change on KPCALP in Petaluma, a free range radio and TV station, I am talking about finding your joy. I am talking about finding joy and gratitude and anticipating, pulling in those things that you can feel grateful and good about in your life, because sometimes we get stuck in a rut that just feels too heavy. So we've done some transformation here. Now imagine, we're going to take some deep breaths, and I want you to imagine what you want to create in your life that will make you feel joyful. It can be anything, and don't limit it. Really, if you could have anything, whether it's a new job, whether you're single and you want to start dating, whether you want to start that pottery class, whether you've decided you're going to make your life easier and let go of a particular financial pattern that you found a solution for, whether you're going to ask for that promotion, whether you're going to move, whether you're going to go on that trip to reset yourself, whatever you're going to do, you're going to do it. And you're going to reach towards that anticipation of that good feeling of joy you're going to feel. You need to pull it towards you. Okay, so taking some deep breaths, I want you to tune into the middle part of your body. They call it the power center, right? So this is where we feel our oomph of who we are. So imagine closing your eyes. You can do this with me now. Breathing in and breathing in a color that feels really exciting to you. It could be sparkly. It can be, just magic feeling, whatever. Breathe it into your power center and just move that color really big. Breathing in, circling this ball of energy in the center of your body. Breathing in, circling this ball of energy in the center of your body. This is where your sense of power, sense of self comes from. Your determination. One more breath. Now imagine as you breathe in this color, imagine creating that thing. And we're creating the feeling of anticipation, the excitement of that joy, of that thing you're going to it's going to be so amazing to create that in your life. So breathing in, feeling the anticipation. You got to be really stubborn here, like really just pull it, okay? Find that thread of yourself that really wants it. Find that thread of yourself where there was joy in the past. You got to find that strength. Pull the strength to you for yourself with your determination, with your decision to make that happen. Pull that towards you. So 2 more breaths. Really determining that you are going to make this happen. Now filling your whole body up with this feeling of determination, this feeling of excitement. and just anticipation of it coming to you easily. Now, remembering when you had that joy in you, sometimes we have this tenacity, this excitement, this oomph in us that we're going to really find that. We have it when we're younger. You know, we're like excited. We do these new things. We want to learn new things. So it's that anticipation of good, that anticipation of adventure. You know, how do we recreate that? So let's go down into your abdomen, okay? And that's, you imagine putting an energy ball there of a different color. Let's do orange. And that color is going to be creative, a creative anticipation of some healthy joy and flow, and just really tapping into that strong sense of self of, I know I can do it, and I'm going to create it. And I can feel it coming to me now. Now, this is a feeling. So we're going to focus on the feeling, okay? Don't give it too solid of a picture, because sometimes we don't know how it could happen. And you want to have all the possibilities of this goodness coming to you. So don't give it too much form, but we're going to focus into the abdomen. Do this with me now, taking some breaths, some orange, creative, beautiful energy circulating in your belly as you can feel it starting to create. Okay, starting to create the circumstances like a puzzle piece, cogs in a wheel are starting to move within your life to attract this positivity, to attract this goodness, this joy, and you feel excited about it. So breathing in and out. Feeling that creation, that color swirling around in your abdomen. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in anticipation and joy, the excitement, and exhale. Breathing in anticipation and joy. Exhaling that excitement into the world. One more breath. Breathing in. Breathing out that excitement and anticipation. Letting the world know that you are putting out that intention for yourself. One more breath. And exhale. So again, my name is Michelle Love. This show is Dynamic Change, and I have this show every Wednesday, and you can always look at my website to find out more about me and the kind of work I do with the wellness and wellness coaching, the type of groups I lead. It is dynamicchangewellness.com, and also my YouTube channel, all the shows I do every week for all kinds of different ways. You can work on mindfulness, work on your mindset, techniques, behavioral techniques, psychological insights to bring more wellness so you can have some more happiness and really just enjoying life. You can always go and look at that YouTube channel, Michelle Love with Dynamic Change of Wellness. This is a weekly show, and this is KPCA-LP in Petaluma, and one of the shows here at the station is called Bear Time. It's on Mondays from 3 to 4 p.m. It's hosted by Mr. Bear. And Bear Time is an eclectic array of music from around the world, spanning artists, generations, and genres. Lots of Irish, Caribbean, jazz, swing, and the bios. Some shows may feature a theme related to a holiday, an event, or perhaps the passing of a musical artist. Bear Time is quality airtime. So that just really sounds like an enjoyable cup of tea moment for your day. Mondays from 3 to 4 p.m. here on KPCA-LP in Petaluma, a free-range radio and TV station, 103.3 FM. And So I really appreciate everyone just allowing the exploration of finding more joy. So finding more joy is also about being grateful, but I wanted to find solutions for when we feel like we just have gotten burnt out, right? And we're not able to find things to be grateful for anymore. We're not feeling joy anymore. And it's okay if you have gotten to that place where you feel a little emptiness. It's okay because you can fill it up with good things. But giving these techniques of really tuning into yourself and what is getting in the way and starting to shift that, it can be shifted. You have to be determined. And that's why I do the guided meditation work. I'm a self-defense instructor, and so I teach people on how to get in touch with their fierceness, because that's part of that drive in life for yourself. How can you be strong for yourself? And so that's what I'm asking you to get in touch with. Now you can also do things to create more joy by just getting around positivity. So getting around positivity, you can, if you have really positive friends, being around animals really help. They are so kind and so loving and so giving. That can really shift if you feel stuck. So volunteering at a shelter, maybe you start dog walking for extra money. We talked about finding a way to have some income that's enjoyable. Doing some care with animals is helpful. And then once you start filling up your own cup and your own sense of how much you're well within yourself is filled up with good things, then sometimes volunteering makes us feel good, helping, a certain population of people that are important to us. But doing things that make you feel good, make you laugh, and enjoy life. So again, I'll see you next week. You can go to my YouTube station and watch all the shows. I appreciate your time, and I wish you all the joy in life. My name is Michelle Love. Thank you for listening to Dynamic Change on KPCALP.